Hi everyone, so it is Sunday, the 6th of December. Of course, I'm going to be having a look at commodities and really just seeing where those opportunities lie this week in terms of giving you some sense of my trading plan. Especially, I think, charts that I'm going to be looking to stay away from. So where I think these are going to be increased volatility or where it's going to be choppy. And certainly this is worth keeping in mind and focusing maybe on the charts where the trend is a lot clearer. Some areas may be trending, but also potentially due for a daily retracement. So let's go to the chart and have a look and see what's going on there. Okay, so I'm starting off with gold, looking at that on the daily and the weekly. Now I have done, last week I did an incredibly detailed separate analysis and subsequent trading approaches for gold. So I'm going to leave the link for that in the description of this video down below. And I'm just going to carry on with this. So in effect, the idea was that we have a downtrend on the weekly, we have a retracement on the monthly, price pulling back into the first viable key level. So price could continue up at this point. So I think what I'm really going to be looking for is, will the weekly start to break? Will we this week break above last week's high? That could imply the price is going to attempt to get past 1850, 1863. If it does, especially if it starts to break above 1900, then I'm going to start switching to bullish. My assumption at that point is going to be that gold is ready to resume its longer term uptrend. However, my first approach, that's plan B, my first approach is really anticipating that gold is going to potentially resume its downtrend in this area. You can have both. You can have a horrible situation, which of course occurs, where it sets up to go short, triggers bear traders in, and then reverses and backs up over the line. We could have that. Okay, so there's a limited kind of number of ways in which this can play out, but that's really what I'm going to be looking for this week. There's a continuation down, actually potentially down towards 1600 and 1550. This is all covered in much more detail in the video that I've done, that's in the link below. Part of the reason behind that is silver really never did a retracement down to 21, which I feel it should have done, and therefore the possibility that we might find metals continue down for a bit could also be the case. But it's no, silver has technically got lower highs, lower lows on the daily. It's also at a key level of support. This has got just as much, in a way, potential to go to the upside as it does to go to the downside. But I would really like it to see it connect with 21 and then resume the longer term uptrend. So I'm just cautious of it. I'm going to watch silver. I'm not going to trade it until I see what it's going to do. Gold, I've got a bit more kind of a plan going there. Copper is now entering absolutely. It's broken through all-time highs, but it's entering absolutely overextended now. So it certainly is now, I feel, due for a retracement. I'd love to see it come back down to 3.3 here or 3.25 at this point and see it come back down to those levels. So I'm going to be very cautious here. Price is starting to look a bit exhausted. That doesn't mean it can't push on a bit further, but it is now high risk and overextended on multiple time frames. I do love the fact that it's broken through these old highs, and that's all of that is positive, but I need that. So I'm going to avoid this for a few days. I need to see what it's going to do, if it's going to take a bit of a breather or push on. But it also makes sense that if gold is ready to go on now, we're going to see this also potentially push on a little bit higher. Platinum also now starting to become very overextended, breaking through these old highs. This is all great. This is all nice and bullish, and I like the look of that, but also now needs to take a bit of a breather, guys. Needs to come back down to these key levels, let the swing traders join in on the trends. All of that, I think, is overdue, so I'm just cautious of those. Palladium, still unable to get through this level of resistance, but again, I think if we see all the others start to push higher, this will be something else we'll see, and then that might produce, because it's been bottled up for a while, it could have a really, really decent run. It could find it just suddenly going from where it is now straight up to these old highs at 283, maybe even on to 3000 if it can break out of that consolidation. So I'd keep an eye on it, especially if the week starts to look bullish across the other precious metals. Then looking at West Texas Intermediate Oil, that's continued to push a little bit higher. It started to break free of these little resistance levels. Again, I'm still leaning more towards bullishness now. So since last week where I said, look, we've got a confirmed uptrend here, that longer term downtrend that I was waiting on for several months has effectively been negated, which is fine. That's what actually happens. That's how it goes. So now I'm reassessing, and now I'm starting to look for those bullish moves to the upside. Could oil just change its mind and go back down again? Yeah, but of course anything is possible, but I think it's more likely at this point that it's going to want to connect with 50 before it decides what else to do. So I'm going to look for shorter term buying opportunities across the board, pretty much on Brent as well as light crude oil as well. Okay, they're very close to the next monthly levels. They might as well just push on through with that. I will be cautious of that, but I'm going to look for opportunities that way. Then having a look at Bitcoin. Again, as we said, it's come back, it's come up. It's effectively, in essence, is connected with 20,000. It needs to let off some steam. There's no doubt it needs to take some breather, because otherwise it's just going to form another bubble like this, and it's not sustainable. I'd like it to come down to 15,000 or down towards, it could even come back down as far as 10,000, but I think more likely somewhere in the 13,000 region before continuing on upwards. So if there might be some good shorting opportunities for traders, for intraday traders, in that little window when it travels down towards these kind of these levels. Outside of that, I'm extremely cautious of taking long positions. It's extremely overextended and overvalued. Okay, it's the same thing with Ethereum. Any pullbacks into these old highs, these old levels, 450, 350, 400 would be great for the longer term move. I don't think we're going to have another bubble. It's very unusual. I think it's more likely that we've got a good longer term trend here, but we do need to take a breather before we can do that. So exercising caution there. And that is it. So thank you very much.